What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Run Your Race show. I'm Akeem.
And I'm Chanelle.
And I know it's been a while since we have done an episode. It's been like 2 weeks. But, we had a lot of different things happening, a lot of moving parts, and we wanted to make sure we are bringing and giving you our best effort. And so it only made sense that we delayed things a little bit, but we're back. But before we begin, we are back in Easton. And there was a special ceremony that you were involved in. I thought that was pretty cool. In Canada, it's just not that same type of love that you were shown. So tell us a little bit about that. How was that feeling, that experience, and just the honor of it? What did it make you feel like? Did you reflect on anything? Give us some insight into that.
Yeah, I didn't know you were going to bring this up, so thank you. Yes, so Friday, Easton Area High School, my former high school, honored me at what they call Easton Area High School Day. They do it every year, and they asked me to be the 2024 honoree. I thought it was great. They had the band going, all the students in the gym. All my friends and family were there. I got to say a few words to the students to encourage them in their journey moving forward. So it was a good honor. It brought back a lot of great memories from my time at Easton, where my track and field career began. So shout out to the Easton Area High School administrators who chose me for this year's honoree. It was a lot of fun.
They did a great job. Shout out to the band. You guys were playing ridiculous. And the speech that you gave was very, not just inspiring, but you can tell you meant every bit of it and from your personal experience. So that was great. I appreciated everything that you said, and it was very inspiring for me, especially someone who was behind the scenes. I'm as I've said before, this is not the first time I'm saying it on camera. I pray and hope that you get everything that you desire because you deserve it. But this is not a SAP show. They're talking a little track and field, and we have a lot to discuss in the track and field scene. But before we get there, as you see on the screen, definitely like the video, comment, let us know your thoughts, and subscribe if you haven't already, and share this with a friend, family member. You know how we get down. Now, it was conference weekend. There was a lot of different meets happening, so much meets that it would take hours for us to break down. And so when we make videos, it's tough to narrow down certain things, and we try and show a little less bias towards our conference, which is the SEC, but we are showing a little biasness once we get there. But a lot of great performances. What were some of the highlights for you during the weekend of conference?
Yeah, I am going to go straight to the SEC because I do think that was the most exciting conference to watch this weekend. And the most exciting race to me was the women's 200. Before it even started, I said, this is going to Ford of South Carolina because she is on fire right now. And you said, I don't know, my sleeper is Mackenzie Long from Ole Miss. And you ended up being correct. Long took the win. She defended her title from last year. She ran an SEC meet record and a world lead of 22:03. Wow. It was an exciting race. They battled the entire time. And shout out to Long. I know it feels good to defend that title and to run such a fast time heading into regionals, NCAAs, Olympic trials. So hopefully she can keep this momentum going. But I really thought the women's 200 was the race of the weekend at SECs. But also shout out to the women's 400. We saw 4 women break 50 seconds and top 3 was women from Arkansas.
Jeez.
And so they did a similar thing indoor, and they're continuing those fast times outdoor. So Arkansas 1, 2, 3. Shout out to those coaches, and shout out to Price, who took the win in a world leading time of 49:32. So she's from Jamaica, and I know the Jamaicans are proud to have, such a dominant 400 meter runner. So shout out to the Arkansas women dominating the 400. And then the women's 800 was exciting as well. We expected Michaela Rose from LSU to take the win, and that's what she did. She took it from the gun. She said, catch me if you can. So shout out to her for running a phenomenal time, 158.89. But what I was more impressed with was second place. Jalo from Arkansas, she hung on to Rose for as long as she could and was rewarded with a second place and a finishing time of 159.29. That is fast. Her first time under 2 minutes. So I know she has to be excited. That's that barrier that all 800-meter women want to break. So shout out to her. Hopefully, she rides this momentum into the postseason now. So those were the highlights for me. I know I was a little female strong there, but I know you're going to cover a lot of the men. So what stood out to you from the conference weekend?
Let's go back one quick second. You said it was her first time breaking the 2-minute barrier. What does that feel like from a mental standpoint? Does it make you feel like, man, I can do this every time, or is the body just like shot, like you need rest? What does that do for her from a mental standpoint, from your experience?
It's like a double whammy because you're excited and now you just want to go back and start grinding so that you expect yourself to do it every time you step on the track, which in some cases is a little unrealistic. So she has to, give herself some grace and know that, your body has just done something that it's never done before. And so go back, get some rest. Don't try to crush your next practice, let your body recover. And then also don't expect yourself to break 2. I mean, you can have that expectation. I want to break 2 every time I step on the track now. But if it doesn't happen, give yourself some grace because it's a hard barrier to break.
Yeah, seriously. For me, I'm going to go back a little bit. I'm going to come back to the SEC, but I'm going to go to Division III. I'm going to go to Sam Blokowski. I hope I pronounced that correctly. He broke his own record. I think last year around this time, he ran like 10-1. And this year he ran 10:09. Right. So he's getting closer and closer to that breaking that 10-second barrier. But you hear so much about Div 1, Div 2, but you don't hear a whole lot about Division 3. But it just goes to show that if you're in the right program and you're healthy and things are clicking, you can run fast anywhere. And this is a very fast time. So shout out to him, man. Hopefully he continues. This puts him in a good position to be very competitive at USA trials. Then I'm going to go to a conference that maybe not a lot of people are talked about. And that happened in the men's 100 for Liberty. Omari Lewis ran the fastest time, I want to say, this year under all conditions, 9:88. Now, when you see 9:88, you're thinking, yo, that's crazy fast. And it is. But then if you're a track and field head, you're thinking about, okay, well, you saw the time. Well, what's the wind? Well, it was a 5.1 wind. And so many people would write that off. And, we want legal races, always want legal races. But the fact that he's ran 9:88, his body now knows what that feels like. And if he did it once, there's a good chance he can do it again. He's got that underneath the system. So this puts him in that watch now, because now we know what you ran, regardless of the win. We got to watch out for this man. And this is a great time to be running fast going into regionals and then going into NCAA. So if he ran 9:88, there's a good chance he can do it again. Don't worry, SEC, I'm coming right to you. I also want to go to what the man is doing over at Houston, Sean Musawangani. He ran 10:11 in the 100 and came back and won the 2 in 20:10.
Wow.
Very impressive. The double is not an easy thing to do. It requires a lot of energy, a lot of focus, a lot of discipline, because you're going to be sore from the 100. Or if you're running the 2 first, which some conferences do, you got to come back and win the 1. And he's done this before, but it goes to show, man, he's running fast at the right time. So shout out to him, because it's not an easy thing to do, and he was able to do it. Again, we could talk about so many different conferences, not enough time. But like I said, our biasness is a little bit of the SEC. So we come in right there. For me, it was four things. I'm going to start with my discipline in the 100. To put it, we always talk about how the SEC is so tough. And if you aren't in the SEC, or maybe you're on the outside looking in, you're thinking, why is it so difficult? Well, to get into the 100, right, the last place in the final was 10-16. Like 10-16 is winning most conferences almost every year. And 10-16 gets you 8th place. in the SEC. But shout out to Godson Ogunbrume, man, for running 9:99. And just him, he wasn't really running so well at the beginning of the year, but it seems like he's found his stride and really starting to put some good things together. And anytime you can run sub 10 anything, especially when legal, that's got to feel good, and it's clicking at the right time. 3 other names. Terrace Oregot. I've talked to him about him before on here, and me and you in our private conversation, and the same thing that I've continued to say is, if he can just put it together, man, he is going to run fast. He's someone who, you know, he would run very fast in the heats, and then in the final, he just wouldn't look the same. I'm not sure if it was the pressure added on his shoulder, maybe it was the nerves that get to you. All these things happen when you're a human being with pressure and trying to run fast and you want to perform well. And on the day, man, he put it together perfectly, ran a beautiful curve, high knees on the straightaway, lifting, not forcing the race, but staying relaxed. And the knee lift was high and explosive. He looked really, really good. Beautiful runner, 1975, amazing time. Second place, Wanya McCoy, 1993. He said, look, I'm going to dip underneath there too and get me a sub 20 performance. And again, like 20:04 in the 200 was 4th place. Shout out to Coach Ken Harden, what he's doing there at Auburn. His guy got 3rd place as well too. And to close out one of the performances for me, again, Chanelle did most of the women. I'm doing most of the guy. Christopher Morales Williams, man, 44:05. What a time. New Canadian record. Previous record holder was Tyler Christopher, 44:44. And what Christopher Morales Williams did indoor, you just felt like, man, it was only going to be a matter of time before he put a faster time together. And this is what he got. And the crazy thing is, this is not all that he has left. And he's only going to get faster. Hopefully he continues to stay healthy. Seems to have a great training program going. Coach Carroll's over there. So 44:05, man, what a time. There's a target on your back right now, young man. You're going to have to carry this. But what I like about competing at conferences, especially in the SEC, is the pressure is high. And if you can compete when the pressure is high collegiately, it definitely helps you prepare for what it's going to be like on the world stage. And again, for the men's 400 in the SEC, 45:05 was 5th place. That's amazing, man. That's amazing. So again, we could talk about every conference and it would take a couple hours. We could talk about the SEC alone and that would take a couple hours. But those were some of the highlights for us. What were some of the highlights for you? If there is something that caught your eye in other conferences, please let us know. We've seen a lot of happening in the conferences. And again, we can't cover them all, so don't fault us for that. But great weekend. Looking forward to seeing what these collegiates do next, man, because, man, they are coming. Let's talk about some of the pros. Let's go over to the professionals, right? There was meets in Jamaica. There was meets over in Doha. There was meets in Florida. What were some of the highlights for you? What stuck out to you?
Yeah, in no particular order, I'm going to start with Kenny Bednarik from USA, who in Doha tore up the 200 meter, world leading time, 1967. You know better than me how fast that is. It sounds fast to me, but you really, really understand the sprint a whole lot more than me. But I can appreciate a 1967 in May, So Kenny, he seems like he's on a mission. And we'll talk about it a little later, like, oh, some pros aren't running fast right now. Well, Kenny is. And so I hope that he can continue this, like you said, stay healthy going into the trials and make that team, because I don't think he gets as much props as he should. So shout out to Kenny for his 200 at Doha. Also want to shout out Daniel Roberts for his consistency this season. He won the Jamaica 110 meter hurdles in 13:17. And I just think he's been so consistent this year, which people don't really give consistency respect, but we know that means when you are consistent, you're about to drop a big time.
Yeah.
And so I think he will run sub 13 when it matters, which is at the US Olympic trials. So shout out to Daniel Roberts for his win over in Jamaica. And then on the women's side of the hurdles in Jamaica, Toby Amusan also ran a world lead 12:40. Of course, she's the world record holder, so people expect her to run fast every time she steps on the track, which is a little bit unrealistic, but she did run fast at that Jamaican meet. She beat a great field. So she continues to represent Nigeria well and make all of her fans proud. So again, she's coming around at the right time, which is what matters in track, right?
Yeah.
And then last but not least, certainly not least, we had a 17-year-old, Phoebe Gill. She ran 1 minute, 57 seconds and some change in the 800 meter at a meet in Northern Ireland. Shocked the world. It's like, who is Phoebe Gill? Well, we know who she is now. And you asked me something like, was it a fluke? Can she do it again? I don't know, but she did it this time. And anytime, a 17-year-old runs sub 2, it's just your eyes get big. And she didn't just run sub 2, she ran 157, and it was a 45-year-old European under 18 record. So that record stood for almost 50 years and she went out and crushed it. So shout out to Phoebe Gill. Think she runs for Great Britain. And so that's a tough team to make for the Olympics.
I forgot about the other two they got over there.
So we'll see if she gets onto that Olympic team. But shout out to her. That's phenomenal. What stood out to you on the professional side? 17.
That's a fast time. For me, it's not really so like the age, but it's like a fast time is a fast time.
Yeah.
For me, there's a couple things that caught my eye. I'm going to start with my fellow Canadian, Sarah Mitten. She threw 20.65 meters in the shot put. And, when we saw this, I was looking at some of the SEC stuff on the men's side and I was like, wait a minute, like Sarah would have got second place here. So it goes to show
in the men's.
Yeah, in the men's division. Yeah, so it goes to show, that's the world lead, right? And she is going to be going into Olympics as, someone who's expected to get a medal now. She's done it before. And now the expectation is, okay, let's keep this momentum. And when you come out and you throw like this, again, at the right time, it's a big positive for her. And I'm sure she's taking it with confidence and looking to not only get further than that, but to come away with the medal at the Olympics, man, that's going to be amazing. So hopefully she's able to continue that. But that was a highlight for me. And I'm going to stick with the field side of things with Carrie McLeod. The long jump is always exciting to me. And it's something that I don't want to call them old heads, but, the more experienced in the fields are very critical of, right? And they keep saying, man, they wouldn't be able to jump in our time.
The current jumpers couldn't hang with like the old heads. That's
what they're saying, right? I don't believe that to be true, but when you have a guy like Carrie McLeod who just jumped, 852, and I don't think he's jumped that much this season. So it goes to show that, like, man, like this is a guy on any given night, man, you got to come and ready to be him because he's trying to jump out the pit every single jump. And I think he beat the field by like over 20 meters. You know what I'm saying? So this guy is someone to look out for as the season progresses and then moving into the Olympics. Man, I think the long jump is going to be this year. I think it's going to be very competitive, and I'm expecting all of them to jump pretty far. In Jamaica now, a couple highlights for me. Zarnell Hughes, man, 1996. Again, like anytime that you can come into a race and run sub 20 in the 200 at any time, let alone this time, I think I don't want to say it might have been his season opener. Don't correct me if I'm wrong in that. I know he hasn't ran too many 200s, but for him to come out and run 19.9, man, that's an amazing time, especially for right now and how he looked. He's a big, tall human being. So once he gets upright running and he's just lifting, You just got to stay calm. So 1996, good run. Kendall Williams over in Florida, Pure Athletics. He ran 993. Anytime you can run sub 10, doesn't matter where you are, it's got to feel good. I know he's battling some injuries over the years, and he's coming back looking good again, feeling good again. That's a good time. Back to Jamaica. In the men's 100, Julian Fort and Akeem Blake. Julian Fort has been hurt in the recent years, and he's coming back, finding his groove again. Hasn't really ran too much in the previous years, but back to feeling good. Very talented young man. Akeem Blake, he's young. These two are sub 10 athletes, man. Taekwondo Tracy came back 10-15 as well too. So the Jamaican team is looking strong, as it kind of always has. Marie Jose Talu Smith came out 1091 to win it. Her leg at World Relays was ridiculous on the anchor leg. So seems like, she's starting to find that groove again and that confidence. She's going to be looking to improve on that 4th place that she's had in the previous major championships. Also got to give a shout out to Daryl Nita for her consistency over in Doha and the meets in China as well too. She beat some great quality fields. So those were some of the highlights for me. The professionals are going to continue to run well, and we have a whole more loaded meets happening this week ahead of us on the weekend. So with that being said, let us know some of the professional highlights that stuck out for you. If we missed any that you think we should have talked about, let us know in the comment section below. Performer of the week. With so many great performances, what was some of them for you? One for you.
I had a tough decision. I don't know if we mentioned him, but Dos Santos was flying in Doha in the 400-meter hurdles. What was his time? 46.86. 46.86 world lead. Whew. I almost went with him, but I have to go and be a little biased and go with my girl Phoebe Gill, the 17-year-old who ran 157. I just speechless. And so my pick for performer of the week is Gil, and just excited to follow her career now that she's kind of like, I'm here and I ain't going nowhere. So shout out to Phoebe. My performer of the week, didn't forget about him, is Alison Dos Santos. Man, I got to give him this time to talk about him real quick, because 46.86. I mean, to be able to, 46 by itself is a fast time in the 4th, right? And so this is a guy, you talk about the Karsten Warholm, you talk about the Ry Benjamin. It's kind of been these three in the recent years who have, been in the medal contention and have medaled. And so to me, I always feel like in years before, one of these guys drop a fast time. And then the other sees it and they're like, okay, now it's my turn. And then the other sees it and then they're like, okay, watch what I can do. So this is a gauntlet that's been dropped right now by Alison Dos Santos because he was coming off of an injury last year, if I remember correctly. And he ran okay. But now he's coming back and saying, look, the injury is fine. I'm good. Let's see what you guys got because I'm here right now. So this was a spectacular time. He looked great. He beat the field by over a second, almost 2 seconds, so he's here right now. So he is my performer of the week. I hope he goes and sits down and rests a little bit. But let us know your performer of the week. Let us know in the comment section below. It's interesting, going back to what we said about Dos Santos, right? And him running fast. And there's been a conversation around the track and field space where a lot of people are saying, man, the professionals aren't running fast right now. And it's been a up and down battle depending on which side you lean to. So we thought, maybe that's a conversation that we should discuss on our perspective about it. Should we, as spectators, as supporters, as people who speak about track and field, should we be worried about the professional times right now not being necessarily the fastest, or for what many might think? What do you think about that when you see it and when you hear it? Yeah, and I think most of the criticism is on the sprinters. You know, the 100-meter runners are getting the bulk on both the men and women's side. A lot of criticism on the short sprinters. So I don't think we should be worried. I think these are coaches and athletes who know what they're doing. They know how far they have until the Olympic trials, the U.S. Olympic trials, and the Jamaican trials. And so I think we just all need to chill out and let them do their thing. And I think they will run fast when they need to. So I think the worry is a little premature. We still have close to 6 weeks until 5-6 weeks until trials. And so of course a lot of this criticism is coming because the collegiates are running so fast. But we see this every year.
Yeah.
And do I think some collegiates are going to steal some of the spots at US trials? Absolutely. I think their season kind of caters to the collegiates. They are ready. They are primed and ready by late June. And so unfortunately the pros don't run as much and aren't usually as sharp as the collegiates, but trust me, they're not trying to run slow. they're trying to put it together. They're working with their coaches, trying to figure it out. And I do believe that 90% of them will get it right at the trials.
Yeah, I think what you just said is spot on. Like nobody, like I always wanted to run fast. Like every single time I touch the track, but I'd hear my coaches saying, Akeem, like, we aren't ready to run fast right now.
Mm-hmm.
And if you trust your coach, you got to trust that they're going to put you in the best position to run fast at the right time. Mm-hmm. The collegiates, man, they got to be rocking and rolling in January, right? And then they got to be rocking and rolling around this time as well, too, because you got to score points. And in order to score points, you got to run fast. So I think history always shows, man, they're going to run fast at the right time when the timing is right. But also these collegiate athletes, they're definitely going to be ready for their trials. They're going to be way more prepared than some of these professional athletes because the schedule and the timing is different. So it's going to be very, very interesting. My thing for me, I'm not worried about them running fast. I said this the other day to one of my mentees. I said, you don't want to run fast at the wrong time. You want to run fast at the right time. And I would be a little bit more worried with athletes who have not competed much, right? Especially if they're getting a little bit older, right? If you got to be race sharp. There's a certain amount of races that you need to feel race sharp, raid readiness, and be prepared for, right? The nerves, and just remembering what it's like to run with people who are just as fast as you. So I would be more worried about that than I am about the times right now. I think right now you just got to get the races in, work out the kinks. And sometimes you go into races, your body's loaded, and there's stuff you got to work on, working on your execution. And, to be able to put together a complete sprint race or a complete jump, right, series. And so I'm not worried about them right now, the times, but I am worried about those who have not competed much because inactivity is not going to get you far in this sport. Activity will get you far in this sport because you are going to be ready at the right time. So let us know your thoughts. Are you worried about any of the professionals right now not running the fastest? Does that concern you? Does it make you nervous? Does it make you shiver a little bit? Let us know in the comment section below. We would love to hear from you. Going to our last topic, the run your race topic, it kind of goes on par with what we talked about last time, right? Because now, Canadian champs is next month. US champs is next month. Most championships, with the exception of, I think, South Africa and Australia, happened a little bit earlier. Most championships are next month or the next month, but it's coming up pretty soon. You've always been someone who says, okay, I'm 8 weeks out, need to be ready, this and that. What was there ever a time that you felt like you were running out of time? Like, what did you do? How did you feel when you feel like you're running out of time?
That's a really good question. I think you have to communicate with your coach. That relationship with the person who is writing your program and responsible for getting you ready. You have to have that ability to be vulnerable and express your concerns. And I've always had that with my coaches. Like, look, I'm feeling like, training is, I'm a little behind, or training may be going well, but for some reason my races aren't going well. And so you need to be able to express that, and then just come up with a plan and try to, like you said earlier, trust your coach, trust the plan that you come up with. But if you don't have that trust, it's not going to work. Yeah. That's just what I've figured out. The times when I was questioning my coach and questioning the training, it didn't come together. But when I said, you know what, I'm gonna buy into this, and I'm gonna trust you, and I'm gonna go all in and see what happens, that 99% of the time it worked out for me. So I think just that trust and buying in, and having that open communication is really, really important.
I think for me, there was only one time in my professional career that I did not feel ready for a specific race, in the sense of, like, we'll say Olympic trials or World Championship trials. And that was because 2 weeks before Canadian Championships, man, I was battling an injury. And I was like, I just don't know if I'm going to be able to come back in time and run well. But I wasn't too worried. I'm like, man, if I can get to the line, I think I can carry myself through. But that was the kind of one of the only times that I was like, man, I just didn't know where I was at. And that can be a frustrating thing. It's like, I don't know where I'm at, but you also know where you once were. And that can be one of the challenges. So I think it is the communication, right? Communicating with your coach and being honest with him, and asking them to be honest with you. Sometimes coaches will tell you, oh man, you're going to be great. You're fine. And then they'll go back and they'll call their mentor and say, oh, he's not looking too good. With my coach, professional coach, Stuart McMillan, we were always honest with each other, man. I'd always ask him, like, man, where do you think I'm at? And whether I wanted to hear what he said or not,
he was honest.
If I was ready to accept what he wanted to say or not, he was always just like, man, we're not there yet. And you have two ways how to handle that, right? You take that with constructive criticism, and you say, okay, well, I still have 4 weeks to kind of get there. And then you can ask your coach, okay, well, have I been progressing to be where I need to be, right? Or you can take that and be defeated. But if you still have time, you still have time. And so I think it's just, as you said, the open communication with your team, and allowing them to say, man, I need you to be honest with me. Do we have enough time to get to a decent place or a great place? And if you can be honest with that and not let the true answer discourage you, you can be where you need to be, or at least be close to where you need to be at the right time.
That's good.
So it shouldn't be anything to be discouraging, even though it can feel like that. But, I think if you're going to make progress in life, especially in sports, you got to be honest about where you are. And that is what I would say. I also say, I don't think about the worst until the worst happens as well, too. So, even until my leg is broken, I'm going to show up for that line. So that's what we think. Let us know when you hear this topic here, what comes to mind. What does it make you think of? We'd love to know in the comment section below. Thank each of you for taking the time. Again, we apologize for the 2 weeks off I'm not going to say off. We weren't off, but off from the show. And again, if you're enjoying the video, enjoying the content, then please like, comment, share, and definitely subscribe to the show before you leave. And if you're watching it, you might as well take a screenshot and tag us in it on social media so we can see that you are watching or listening. So with that being said, this is it, episode 12. See you next week.
Bye, guys.